If I woke up tomorrow with crippling Achilles tendon pain, here's exactly what I do to fix it fast, and how you can too without lingering pain for months or years. I'm Dr. Ray Peralta, physical therapist and run coach, and for over 10 years, I've helped hundreds of people, including military veterans, rehab injuries, get pain free, get back to running, lifting, and just living life on their terms. This video, I'm going to show you how to get rid of Achilles tendon pain fast so you can stop wasting months hoping and praying that it will magically go away, and finally return to the activities that you love. I'm going to break this down to 5 key steps. And stick around to the end. I'll share exactly how you can join my free school community and get direct help. So, the first step is myth busting. So, for Achilles pain, we got to bust some myths because there are some common beliefs that people get stuck in a pain cycle. Because if you believe these things, you're going to be afraid to move. So, one is like, oh, my Achilles tendon will never be the same. I got to protect it. Another one's, since I've injured it before, it's bound to happen again. I'll always have a weak Achilles tendon. And I'll never return to my sport, or I won't be able to get back to work. If it hurts, I should completely stop using it. So what happens is you're overprotective, you're overly fearful, like any slight twinge or thing, you're afraid to load or strengthen your Achilles tendon. So then you never actually get better. So then it stays in a weakened state for a long time. And then what happens, things actually get worse over time because you're just so weak and deconditioned. See, the truth is the Achilles tendon wants to adapt and wants to get stronger, right? You can think of it as part of the muscle tendon unit. It's a contractile tissue, right? But only if you load it properly, and consistently. Most people aren't active enough, after an injury to maintain that strength and flexibility in the tendon. So the tendon gets weaker over time. So you remember this rule. If you don't use it, you lose it. So the same thing happens with the Achilles tendon. If you're not using that tendon, you're going to start losing it. And then eventually it just kind of ruptures just because it's so weak. Unfortunately, I've seen this happen in older folks going like 70 years old because they just kind of babied it and just took it so easy. They were afraid to put load on their Achilles tendon. See, I've worked with military veterans who thought the running days were over. But once they stopped babying the tendon and started progressively loading it, they not only recovered, but came back stronger than ever. So, step 2, the diagnosis. Is it really the Achilles? Here's a surprising fact. There's a study from 2019 that up to 30% of Achilles tendon pain was actually coming from the low back, and even when there's no back pain present. So, do a quick self check, right? Do you have pain in your back, buttock, or hip that travels down the leg on the same side as the Achilles tendon? If so, it might be the back. Do you have any numbness, tingling, burning, or weakness in the leg of the same side as Achilles tendon? Like it even be at the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, or the tib. Like if the entire leg is feeling weak, it might be coming from the back. Does sitting, rising from a chair, or bending forward, like do a trunk forward bend, does that make your Achilles tendon feel worse? If it does, it might be coming back, right? Especially if you answered yes to all 3 of those questions, then there's a good likelihood they might be nerve related and they're coming from the back. So how to tell the difference? Achilles tendon pain is usually sharp and localized and stiff upon waking or standing after rest. And so usually, again, you could pinpoint it, right? You get your thumb and just pinpoint that. Oh, that's right on my Achilles tendon. While pain coming from the low back may be diffuse. I mean, you may feel it down the entire lower leg. It may go down into the foot or the toes. It tends to radiate. It may be, again, numbness, burning, tingling, pins and needles, and changes with posture, right? It could change from sitting to standing like that. So step number 3, also understanding how and why Achilles pain develops. See, Achilles tendon pain happens when load exceeds tendon capacity, right? Load could be any type of activity that puts load on the body, right? Any weight-bearing activity, whether it's running, jumping, lifting, even walking can be loading, depending how, like if you're walking uphill. So 2 common scenarios. Overload, either too much too soon, maybe you just ramped up your training all of a sudden, like, oh, you're training for a marathon, and now you've just made a sudden jump in mileage, or like speed work, more intensity, or you're lifting, you made a sudden jump in the weight you're lifting without the adequate preparation. Or decondition, which is unfortunately is more common. More people are deconditioned than overloading. Like there's just way more sedentary people in this world. So more common is that they're undertrained, right? They're just doing less and less over time as they get older and older. They're just doing less and less. They're not moving as much. So now they're just so deconditioned that the tendon just kind of gives, right? Your tendon loses capacity. So even normal activities feel like something as simple as just walking and throw out the trash can just be enough to, cause you like an Achilles tendon tear just because it's so deconditioned. Or something as simple as just walking on the beach. While if the overload scenario is like, okay, you started running more than you could tolerate and then or doing repetitive jumping. And don't get me wrong, they're both overloads. Just that one is overload from like basic low level activity. The other is overload from like high level activity that's like you'd see athletes doing, right? So step 4, pain guidelines and modifying your activity. See, you don't need to be completely pain-free to exercise. Pain should be your guide, not your enemy. So if you have mild to moderate pain, like let's say mild pain is like 3 or less, moderate pain is like 4 to 6 out of 10 pain, it's pretty much okay to have that kind of discomfort while you exercise. And also when you're running, another thing, a pro tip is just do run walk, right? So you could just run, walk, so you could give your tendon some recovery time, and you can still do your good running quality workout with run walk. So don't be afraid to run walk to modify your workout. So track these questions during your activities, whether you lift, you run, or jump, or do some other sport. Is my pain tolerable during the activity, right? So let's say you like to play basketball or soccer. Can you tolerate it doing that game of basketball? Are you sure? If so, then it's okay to do. Maybe you just need to take a day or two in between of rest. That's fine. While you rehab, though, you still want to actively try to rehab. Don't ignore the whole thing altogether. Is your Achilles tendon pain better, worse, or the same immediately after? So maybe you play some soccer or something, and then immediately after, the pain is about the same or even a little better. But if it's worse, okay, maybe you have to decrease the playing time, or if we're talking about running, maybe you change the mileage, maybe do a little less mileage, less speed work. And then also, how does it feel the next day? Right. So if your Achilles tendon pain is worse the next day, and let's say yesterday you went for like a long run, okay, make a note that hey, either that long run was too much, or you got to switch from running the whole thing to doing run walk, like I talked about, or maybe you have to make a big adjustment and go from like just temporarily take a break from running, especially if it's a very severe flare up. Like if even just a mile of running sets you off, you may have to like really reduce the amount of running you're doing, or really do a more conservative run walk where you just like run for 30 seconds, walk for 30 seconds. So rule of thumb, if it's significantly worse the next day, again, you really need to back off. You may have to take, 1, 2, even 3 days off. You very rarely have to take a whole week off from training. I mean, oftentimes you bounce back after the third day. You just have to go very light. You maybe go, again, jog, walk, or do some other activities. And avoid the boom bust cycle trap, right? Pushing too hard, flare up, total rest, right? This boom bust cycle where you bust, and then you rest, and then you try to boom up your activities again, and then you bust again, the boom bust, right? So again, that's from going do it too much, too hard, too fast. You flare up, then you rest, that tendon weakens, and you keep repeating that boom bust cycle. So the key is to find the Goldilocks zone. Just enough challenge without overloading the tissue where you bust again, right? Where the tendon like flares up, you flared up, just you kind of push to the edge and back down. So I already talked about modifying running. You could do run walk, right? You don't have to completely stop running. Either, again, change how many times a day you work out. Let's say you run 5 or 6 days a week, decrease it to like 2 or 3 days a week. You can still maintain your cardio fitness by cross-training, by doing biking, walking, rowing, right? So it's not going to be a one-to-one exactly the same as running, but you can still maintain your heart and lungs endurance while you can still get some of the running specificity by doing like some of your run walk workouts like 2 or 3 times a week instead of trying to run 6 days a week if that's just too much for your body to handle. You could also obviously decrease the mileage, how much total mileage you're getting through the week, or even on a specific run. So instead of doing a 6-mile run, do a 3-mile run. Swapping in, again, the low impact cross training. And then that walking could also be part of your cross training. Of course, you could just go for brisk walks. Just be mindful with uphill walking. A lot of times people with Achilles tendon pain can get flared up just by uphill walking. So you may just have to walk on level surfaces. And then your walking distance or time on your feet while walking should increase over time, right? Especially if you're sedentary, like let's say you're not doing that much walking to begin with, right? Start ramping up your walking. Go from like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then an hour. And then try to walk daily if you can. Walking daily, one, it has so many benefits and also actually helps the Achilles tendon. You're getting some circulation and blood flow. Yes, if you have a pain flare-up, you could take a day or two off to recover even with walking. But for the most part, most people could tolerate like 2 minutes of walking, right? Even if you have a flare-up, you could walk for 2 minutes, relax, walk again. It shouldn't be so bad you couldn't be able to tolerate just like 2 minutes of walking. Unless you have like a complete rupture. In that case, obviously, you go to the emergency room and get that thing checked out. So step 5. So I'm going to share also my 3-part training plan. So here's exactly what, as a physical therapist, I kind of prescribe to my clients. So part one would be strength training, actually. Starting off with a foundation of starting with isometrics. Isometrics is like you push your foot up against the wall, or if you're doing it seated or standing, whatever your body can tolerate. Some people have to be in long sit, push their foot up against the wall. Some people can tolerate standing. It just depends on your tolerance level. Anyhow, you find whatever position you tolerate. You kind of come up on your toes, hold it 30 to 45 seconds, repeat 3 to 5 sets. You could do it, start with once a day. If you tolerate that, if it's easy, go up to like 2 or 3 times a day. If that starts to become really easy, you could start adding weight or loads. You do isometrics, like holding a weighted backpack. And then you could do it with machine or barbell, etc. And then once you're past that phase, usually it's like 2 or 3 weeks in the isometric phase. Some people can do it concurrently with the other phase, which is just the concentric, eccentric, or what people call like traditional heel raises, right? So you just, two-legged. You could do the standing heel raise. Most people could easily jump to that, but if you need to scale back, you could do the seated calf raise. So seated is, some people call the soleus raise as well. But if you can tolerate standing, just go right to the standing. So you do standing with knee straight, double leg, progress to single leg. And then you could go from double leg on a step to single leg on a step. And then from weighted calf raises, double leg to weighted single leg, and so same thing on a step. With the weighted backpack, right, you start with like maybe 5% of your body weight and then work up to your weight to 10%, 15%, 20%. Oftentimes you don't have to go too heavy. Like usually most people are good with 10%. Sometimes you have to go up to like 20 or 30% of your body weight. But most people can adequately rehab their tendons around 10 or 15% of their body weight of additional weight. Use a slow controlled tempo, 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down. You could also do 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down, whichever works for you. They both are effective. And then again, you could do both variations, straight leg calf raise and knee bend calf raise. Then the second part, power training, or some people call it plyometrics, right? Prepare your tendon for elastic activities, running and jumping, right? 2 to 3 times per week. Hopping progression, you could do double leg hop, go vertical, forward and back, like long jumps. You could do, side to side. And then the same thing with single leg up and down, like a vertical single leg, single leg, long jump, single leg, triple jump. Then different progressions with the jumps. You could do a diagonal, you could do timed. You could actually do the jumps with like the weighted backpack or weighted vest. Or you could also do dynamic heel raise, which is going up on the heels and really doing coming up fast, like you're going to jump up. You could also do the kind of like a squat jump with a heel raise. Different types of explosive movements, even box jumps, landing off a box, then rebounding, and then jumping up again like a spring off your toes, like a pogo jump. So many, and also jump rope, actually. Jump rope is a classic power training. People don't think of jump rope as power training or elasticity training, but you actually love jump rope. Right? You have to wait for it until you're at this stage, of course. You can't just go to jump rope, phase one, but this is going to be okay after you pass isometrics and the concentric eccentric strengthening and you're in the power phase. Jump rope could be a great adjunct as well. And then once you're at the jump rope, oftentimes most people go to the part 3, which is the return to sport. You gradually reintroduce the sport you want to get back to. Maybe it's basketball, soccer, you do the drills, the agility drills. Or if it's running, just do the running drills. And then from the running drills, go to run walk. And then after you go to whatever training plan, whether you're training for a 5K, 10K, etc. Gradually work you up. You want to build your base, of course, build your base fitness again, because you may have lost it from the time off. And then avoid jumping right back into the most intense or hard work, right? Slow, steady progress helps prevent setbacks. Additional tips, you can use heel lifts or supported shoes. So oftentimes people with Achilles tendon pain have to put a heel lift on, and it'll help kind of offload the strain on the tendon. You could also massage the muscle belly, the calf muscle, the soleus above it. Could be good for symptom relief, but it's not going to be a cure. You still got to do strength training to actually remodel the tendon. And then tendon remodeling typically happens at 8 to 12 weeks. There are some people who I've worked with who can do it in 6 weeks, but the average is about 8 to 12 weeks. And then some people take a little longer. Some people actually take 16 weeks. I found out some older folks may have to take closer to the 16-week mark to get relief, and some people even go up to 20 weeks. But for the most part, the average, right, is usually 8 to 12 weeks. PRP injections, right? Research shows it's actually no better than placebo. So before you spend your cash on PRP injections because you heard it on some bro podcast or something, realize that PRP injection is, again, oftentimes, I've seen this myself. I've patients come in or clients come in. Hey, Ray, I did the PRP injection. Okay. Are you any better? No. So I'm here to do rehab. I'm like, wow. All right. And then they go, oh, the PRP worked. I'm like, no, the rehab worked because you just spent 2 months with me doing rehab and you could have just spent with 2 months with me doing the proper rehab. Because often they, oh, maybe I tried rehab somewhere else and it didn't work. Because oftentimes when they, unfortunately, a lot of therapists underload, right? They may give calf raises, but they don't properly load it or progress it. So when it's underloaded, yeah, it may seem like you partially worked, but it didn't fully work. So you're kind of getting like mixed results. But when you properly load it and progress it all the way through, in 8 to 12 weeks without the PRP injection, you get better. And then getting like an Achilles tendon surgery should be the last resort. Most people can get better. Like 80% of the people I've worked with typically get better with progressive exercise. And I can think of the people who didn't get better oftentimes just didn't do the exercise. They were just not consistent. They're just either too afraid or fearful of adding more load. They thought they were going to tear it. So I understand sometimes people have other issues going on, some emotional stuff going on. But regardless, if you commit to a program, I think almost everyone can actually properly progress unless your tendon is so far gone that you need the surgery or like a complete tendon rupture. So Achilles pain is a load versus capacity problem, not just inflammation. And imaging doesn't always equal pain. People go, oh, but my MRI shows an Achilles tendon tear. I have to be careful, right? And no. Just monitor your symptoms. If it's mild to moderate, you can keep training. You don't have to be afraid that there's a small tear in the tendon. You don't have to like freak out about it. And rehab, again, could take good rehab, right? Not just any random rehab in like 8 to 12 weeks, right? That's what, 2 to 3 months. It just requires consistency. You don't have to be working with some PT for a year or two. If you are, for the Achilles tendon pain, get another PT. Like you should have got better in like 2 to 3 months. And I work with people online and virtually, and also in New York. I'm currently in New York as well. So again, the main treatment is progressive structured exercise, build strength, add plyometrics, and then gradually return to running or whatever the sport you want to get back to, basketball, soccer, football, etc. So remember, pain is okay if managed and not worsening day to day. So if you found this helpful or you just want more information on how to get pain relief, I have also a free 5-day course in my school community where I share more strategies to get pain-free and back to peak performance. So that link is in the description. And if you need more personalized help, I'm actually doing a 28-day Operation Pain-Free Challenge. You could work with me one-on-one to get support there. You can just send me a DM on Instagram or my school. You could join my free school. Just DM me, hey, Ray, OPF, or you just want more details on the Operation Pain-Free, and I'm free to chat. Anyways, take care and later.